welcome to another episode of the Geek Gossip Podcast. I'm Jack Higgins.
And I'm Artie Higgins, and this is a podcast where we talk about movies, comics, and all things geek.
Yeah, we're super pumped to be talking to you today, but today it's a very special video interview episode spectacular.
Yeah, today we will be joined by a legendary artist, Frankie B. Washington.
Yeah, Frankie's just a great guy. You know, he's got this awesome new Kickstarter up for the third issue of his awesome series, KAIJUS and Cowboys. Definitely be sure to check that out. But, you know, I kind of want Frankie to speak for himself with the whole who he is thing because, you know, our interview is crazy good. So what do you say we get to it?
Yeah, let's get into our awesome interview with Frankie B. Washington.
Joining us now is indie comics penciler, inker, colorist, and sound effects extraordinaire, Frankie B. Washington! How you doing, Frankie?
I'm doing fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for having me on the show. My man's Jack and Artie. Dude, I'm still just blown away. First off, that you guys wanted to talk to an old schooler like myself. But I'm truly honored. And so thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you so much for being on.
We're grateful to have you.
Yeah.
You know, we always like doing
you.
interviews, and you know, your stuff is just the best. So it's great to be finally talking to you. So, you know, Frankie specializes in all things monsters, kaijus, and giant robots. We became aware of Frankie through covers and stories and anthologies like It Came Out on a Wednesday, and you know, we were recently pumped to jump in on the spectacular art for your new series with Matthew Blair, KAIJUS and Cowboys. So, you know, we love all your work, Frankie, and we're so excited to finally have you on the YouTube.
Oh, thank you so much. And again, it's kind of weird. It's like I have been doing work in the art industry for over 30 years. And so the art industry meaning I've worked in film, I've worked in animation.
Oh, cool.
And I've also done stuff in, I also done stuff in advertising. A big chunk of my career was in advertising, in which, you know, learning marketing, promotion. I was doing some stuff was exciting. I can't say every project wasn't exciting, but it was mostly stuff where, you know, it was just layouts, compositions, that kind of things, which is really good stuff to know, that kind of knowledge, you know, just being able to put stuff together to be able to market. And then in between that time, I jumped into doing RPG illustrations.
Oh, cool.
I did that for a couple of companies, and then as well as some toy stuff. So I knew that when I first got into art, first off, I want to thank my teachers at the time. You know, they and my mentors, people who really saw that I had a gift, and they really pushed me. They were just like, hey, look, you have this ability, you have this skill, you can make a living doing this, and we're going to try to help you push you down that direction so that you can see. And then the art school I went to, Viterra School of Art, it's not around anymore. It was like boot camp. They were an art school who were dedicated. They were like, look, we don't believe in the philosophy of the starving artist. We believe in contractors. We believe in artists that get paid for the work that they do. So if you want to come to this school, this is what we do. And I said, sign me up. And so, you know, then I flew from there. I started learning more and more and just adapted.
That's great. Yeah. Truly a really inspiring story, but going like way back in time, back to, you know, when you were younger, what were some of your favorite comics, cartoons, and movies growing up when you were a kid that inspired your work today?
Oh boy. Well, I would say that the biggest one that I always tell people the influence was the Shogun Warriors. The Shogun Warriors.
Warriors.
See, this makes me happy because you guys are happy about that. Because the Shogun Warriors were done by Mattel, but they were the super robots from Japan. So they were a bunch of different properties, IPs that you know, Mattel was able to get, and then they packaged them together into one brand, and then they put them out to us in America, and they said Shogun Warriors and stuff. And when I saw that, and I had also been watching various TV shows like Force 5 when I grew up in Boston. So we would watch channel, I think Force 5 came on channel 25, which was Fox. Which is Fox 25, but it was 25 as we called it back then. And it came on, and it was like this 5-day run of all these super robot shows from Japan. But they were done by Jim Terry Productions, which was an American production company, and they were done incredible. They were the most amazing thing. And so people can actually see the Force 5 stuff. I think some segments of it on YouTube if they want. But anyway,
Okay, cool.
that inspired me a lot. But the figures from the Shogun Warriors got me so interested where I was like, oh man, I was getting right into comic books. I was drawing a lot, but I was like, man, I was seeing a lot of Spider-Man stuff, and I love that stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love Spider-Man, I love superheroes and stuff like that. But something about giant robots, people operating these fun, over the top kind of characters with their adversaries who are kaiju. I just was like, I want to draw that stuff. And so I remember my mom taking me to Child World, that was in Dedham, Mass. And when she took me there, I was all excited because I was like, oh, I'm getting some toys. I was all excited. She took me to the door and I saw this spinner rack. And the spinner rack was right there. So before you reach the toy aisles, the spinner rack was right there in the front. Went up to the spinner rack. Right, there was like, they used to sell these comic books 10 to one bag, and it was like $5. And right on the cover, yeah, I know, isn't that crazy? $5 for 10 comics. And I remember it like right there on the cover with the Shogun Warriors, issue number 1. And I was like, please, please. I was begging. I was like, please, get this for me, Mom. And she just said, sure, okay. And she got it for me. And I remember, and then she got me some toys. She got me some of the other Shogun Warrior toys. And then I remember going home, tore it open, was looking through it, and I saw the most amazing artwork I ever seen. And it was by Marvel Comics. And I was like, this is the way. I was like the Mandalorian. This is the way. I want to be doing this.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like, superheroes are really cool, but like,
Yes.
I think the sort of like kaiju and giant robot stuff is always interesting because it's like a whole sort of other world, whole other culture, kind of like they're similar in a sense, but also very different. And like when you kind of like sort of bring that together, when it's like American comics will tackle that, it's always like sort of like the best of both worlds in a lot of sense.
Well, the funny thing about it is that, and I know a lot of people say his name differently, and so I don't know if I'm saying it completely correctly, but Go Naga, hopefully I'm saying it right. He is the godfather of the super robots. He created Mazinga Z.
Okay.
And the thing about it is that I believe strongly, and I think somewhere in some interviews where he was inspired by American comics.
Really?
If you look at, because Superman came out back in what,
1938, I think.
38. So
Yeah.
definitely, he was, he grew up past that time during, probably was a young kid during that time or whatever, and he was heavily influenced. If you look at Mazinga Z, the aesthetics of that character, like Koji Kabuto, Clark Kent.
Oh yeah, okay.
Mazinga Z, his color scheme is black, but red, white, blue, yellow. And if you think about the idea of Koji Kabuto and Clark Kent, you just think of Clark Kent jumping inside the head to operate Superman. So
Okay,
it's
so yeah.
those weird, subtle, like these weird little subtle nods to what we were doing here in America. But he decided to use the more mechanical kind of approach, which I thought was brilliant. And then also the mad scientist, Dr.
Yeah,
Hell.
that's really cool.
Dr. Hell is technically, in my mind, Lex Luthor. He's just a guy who has
Right.
giant robots, and he sends it, and he wants to control the world and whatever and do his evil. And that's what he would do, and he would send his minions out to fight against Mazinga Z. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like I never really thought about it that way because it's like the pilots are the secret identities, the robots are superheroes. It's pretty straightforward analogy.
Even the design of the super robots, because there's always been this sort of thing where people will say, well, what is Gundam? And I would always be like, well, Gundam is mecha. Because Gundam originally, the original first Gundam was somewhat super robotish in a certain degree, but it definitely went further toward the more mecha realm. Now, mecha is a sort of thing where I always attribute it to militarizing it. It almost has a military theme to it. Many of the mecha lack a lot of the nuances that super robots have. Super robots tend to have weaponry that is specialized. So they'll be like, I'll pull my sword out, and they'll pull the sword out of their shoulders. Or they usually didn't have guns. They would be like, hold a gun in their hand. They would either have a weapon that would be a specialized weapon. They would have I-beams. They would have very superhero capabilities. Mecha would be more like, you got a military design. Their designs would look almost identical to one another. And then also
Okay.
their weaponry would be like they'll hold a gun in their hand. They'll hold a gun in their hand. Most of their theme stories would be more militarized. It wouldn't be as fanciful as a fantasy kind of element to it. Whereas with giant robot stuff, it would be really far-reaching. It'd be like alien invasion,
Right. So this would
or
be
they
like,
want to take over the world, or the person would have a secret identity, or it'd be a clandestine organization that would build this thing to fight against this unknown threat. Whereas with Gundam, they would be like political. It'd be like geopolitical kind of affairs, which would bring militaries into conflict. Which is nothing's wrong with that. I think that it's just that it just was two different kind of ways, of
Right.
handling that kind of thing of the giant robot.
Yeah. So KAIJUS and Cowboys follows robots in an old Western type setting, making a kaiju infested planet habitable for humans in the far future.
Yes.
Your art in this is absolutely amazing. So how did you get involved in this epic genre bending comic?
Oh boy. Well, the thing about it is that me and Matthew have a relationship. We have a relationship that was, boy, I feel like now, I ain't pushing it, but we could be on our 7th, going into our 8th year relationship. Because we had 5 years of working on a web series called The Secret Lives of Supervillains, which is, I think the episodes are still on Tappa.com, or they might, I don't know if we ever put them on Webtoon, but it was like 5 years of, I did a bulk of it, but then he brought in, if I couldn't do it, then he brought in some other artists to kind of help. But we worked on that, and in some of the stories, we kind of put a little bit of super robot stuff in there and kaijus and little things, just a little nods to it. And so back in, I feel like 2020, maybe the end of 2019, 2020, Matthew just out of the blue was like, hey, Frank, what do you think about kaijus and cowboys? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I like kaijus and I like cowboys. I grew up with Westerns and I love them and stuff. And so he said, yeah. He said, what do you think about trying to do something like that? Now, mind you, I was working on other stuff. And so I kind of was just like, yeah. I said, well, let's just see. Let's play with it. That's always my attitude. I was like, let's just play with it and see what happens. And so after I got off the phone with him, talking with him, I just started sketching. And I saw 3 images pop in my head. And it was of Clint Eastwood, Jet Jaguar from Godzilla vs. Megalon.
Yeah.
And then the final one was Jack Kirby's Machine Man.
Okay.
That's cool.
Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
And so I saw all those 3 images that came into my mind, and then this guy came to form.
Oh man, that's so cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
B-Win came to life. And it's funny because it just came together. Of course, the dreadlocks are evident. For me, I thought that the coolest thing is when you see those westerns where the cowboy is almost silhouetted by moonlight or something, and his hair is just sort of drifting in the wind.
Yeah.
I thought it would be terrifying. I thought it's the most terrifying thing ever, where you just see this silhouetted figure. He has his duster, and his duster's kind of gently blowing in the wind, and his hair is just kind of, every little strand's just sort of dancing in the wind. So I said, it'd be kind of cool with dreadlocks kind of moving and stuff. And B-Win came to life. And so this is the actual figure that we're offering as a figure on demand on our current campaign, by the way.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so that's how he came to life. And then we just flew with it. We just went with it. It just sort of just slowly just started snowballing.
That's truly a great story. I mean, like it's awesome how you took sort of like 3 complete different characters from 3 different worlds and sort of brought it all together, because that's kind of what KAIJUS and Cowboys is. Like, Machine Man, it's obviously like American superhero comics a lot, and sort of kind of like that sort of cool robot type thing.
Yeah, we are not shying away from saying that we are paying homage to what came before.
That's awesome.
I think it's important that people understand that, because again, the reason why I do what I do, just working as a commercial illustrator, is because of the individuals who were in the trenches before me. They were in the trenches. They inspired me so that I would have a career in art. And then they inspired Matthew as well for his endeavors, to want to write. And the thing is that it's important that people, and I say the young folks like yourself, understand that is an important thing, that there are people who have laid down steps, and that we should show homage to what they've done, so that we can say, well, look, It's almost like we're in the Olympics, and like you're doing the running. It was at the track, and you're running, and then they say, "Here you go, kid," and they throw the torch at you, and then you catch the torch, and then you just start running off.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I feel like that's going on right
Okay.
now. Is that I've caught the torch from the torch bearers from before, and now I'm running, and then maybe one day, and just like you guys are laying down a torch with your show and what you're doing. That one day when you're up much more older, then some youngster or somebody's going to be trying to do something because they've been watching your show. You're going to be like, "Here you go, kid, catch it." And they may not catch it the first couple of times, but eventually they will.
All right. Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
You guys are laying down. Remember that. You guys are laying down seeds as well. And it's very important.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. Yeah.
That's awesome. Really nice of you to say. And then, like, of course, like, back to, like, the Western elements, you know, obviously, like, you said Clint Eastwood, and he's the bot with no name. Clint Eastwood's the man with no name. I think it's really a neat idea to include Old West inspired imagery to, like, the story in the far future, because they're still, like, on, like, the galactic frontier. So what was sort of like the thought process there? Like how like what are like the sort of limits with the storytelling? Like,
well, I mean, if you think about us in the West, I think another thing too, and I'm not going to get too sidestepped on it, is that I have to admit I have a hard time sometimes where it's like I understand why people love anime and manga. I went back in the 80s. I was part of an anime club. And
okay, cool.
I love anime and manga. But also, I'm a Westerner. So the thing is that I have a strong appreciation for the Western art style. You know, just as much as I have an appreciation for European style, as well as from Asia, and then all across the world, global styles. I just have an appreciation for them. But it's really tough because, in some degree, you're seeing the Western style almost being, you know, it's being hammered at, where it's just kind of like being knocked down as compared to the stuff that's out there already, like the stuff that's like from anime and manga. I do understand why there's a huge love for it, because it's definitely out there in the front. You have a generation that has been, you know, bombarded with it, and so I go, yeah. But then it's important to understand that we have our own kind of tropes, and one of those major tropes is the Western trope. The Western trope is about journey and frontier, about exploration, and I think that's why it's so important. I'll just use a current show that people probably have watched, The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is a fine example of taking those tropes of Western and applying it to a sci-fi.
Right.
You know, exactly. You see it. It's that thing of, you know, you're fighting against something. You're traveling to uncharted areas. There's danger and stuff. But then there's that sense of hope. There's that big sense of hope, because, you know, if you make it through this wild frontier, maybe you'll come to this beautiful place where you can lay down roots and then perhaps build something. So I think that that's one of the things about KAIJUS and Cowboys, where the idea of you got this massive ark that we have that's hovering above this planet with this father mind AI who's controlling everything pretty much. The human beings on the ark are asleep. They're in cryo sleep. And the robots down below have been given this job to terraform this planet that's already occupied by kaijus who, you know, it's their home. It's almost like another trope that I would say something that a homage that we're paying sort of playing to is Starship Troopers.
Okay.
Remember that whole thing with the bugs?
I actually haven't seen Starship Troopers.
Oh, it's a rough movie. I'm gonna say that it's yeah, you guys. I don't know. What hardcore movies have you guys seen? Have you seen Alien?
Yes.
Okay, well, you can watch it. if you watch RoboCop, then you can watch. You can definitely watch. Yeah, then you can watch it. But it pretty much the trope is that the Earth is attacked by giant bug creatures from a galaxy, and then Earth retaliates by sending whatever their forces off to fight them. And so the question then becomes, who's right and wrong? Like, you know, are these bugs fighting the human beings because they're saying, hey, you guys are the invading army, stay away from us? Or are the humans right because they're saying, well, you guys are fighting us, you know, whatever, and trying to, you know, destroy us, so we're fighting back. That kind of thing. So you have those kind of elements that are playing also inside KAIJUS and Cowboys.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And then there's just the robots who are kind of in the middle of it. They're like they're not the humans that are like willing for this to happen. They're just sort of like the ones doing the dirty work. So there's this really cool sort of almost kind of triangle dynamic, if that makes sense.
And I like too how much you make the robots have like Western like the words they use are like words that would be used in a Western, like their language and everything. And just like the way like how there's the worker ones with like the mustaches and all that stuff. I think it's really cool how you lined it up to the Old West, which is a time where they're building up this thing and make it in the far future.
I think as when people start reading the books as they go through the series, I think they're gonna get a bigger understanding that when we use the terminology cowboy, cowboy can be used. I mean, there's the literal sense of the cowboy where you get this visual image of somebody dressed up in the attire and stuff, and you go, yeah, that's a cowboy. But then there's the other aspect of the cowboy, whereas you don't even have to look like a cowboy, but you do cowboy things. I mean, when I used to see, I did some skateboarding back in the day, and if you've done skateboarding and you try to do tricks, it's daring. I used to ride my bike back in the day. We would do some scary rides, man. Dangerous rides. And that would be a cowboy act. You're starting to do stuff that goes beyond the norm. Like somebody else will look at that and be like a surfer. They'll be like, why are you trying to surf a 200-foot wave? Well, that's a cowboy move. That person, see what I mean? It's like cowboy. The term cowboy is something where somebody is doing an action that is far from what the norm is. It's like you're going beyond the sense of safety, where you see people who are climbing, scaling buildings, and they're just like no rope and they're just scaling it. That would be a cowboy move. Jumping on a moving car, that's a cowboy move. So as the story progresses, you're going to see designs, the aesthetics kind of change. Now, Bwin has a certain design that's definitely a cowboy look, but that's just for him and maybe even Doc. But as the story progresses, we're going to be introducing other characters who might not be looking like cowboys. So again,
uh-oh. I think it'll catch up.
Oh, hello, guys.
Hi, yeah. I don't know what happened there.
That was weird. That was weird. That was so odd. I just like I lost it on my side. Like it just I'm like scrambling, going, oh my god, do I type? And yeah, that was very odd, audience.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Technology.
Yeah.
No worries. It's technology because I was like, what happened? I'm like looking around. My camera's fine. It's showing good. Everything's powered up.
Right.
So it just happens. So I think people kind of get an idea. So so anyway, what was I talking about? I was saying like how the
characters that dress like cowboys and do cowboy things, and
yes, like the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian, I would say, is probably a good example because he doesn't look like a cowboy. But the tropes of the show had the feeling of like the West and stuff like that, and so I think that's the place where we're kind of going with this story. And I would tell people that the way KAIJUS and Cowboys is right now, I would think of it more like in the sense of how Star Wars was, where you saw it when the first Star Wars first came out. So we do have the beginning part of that story, and that would be like the
prequels?
Oh, the prequels. Those would be the prequels, which is here. Let me see if I have it. It was this book. Actually, our last campaign was in April, and we had decided this book right here is pretty much it's a bad print job. We had to go back and have them reprint it and sent out to our original backers. But technically, what happened was we had created a story called Team KS1, and it dealt with these armored human beings on Earth, armored human beings with these suits fighting against giant kaijus that are attacking Earth.
Okay.
And also I also want to throw a shout out, because I'm also working, which is kind of weird, but as well as I'm on this whole K and C thing. So I'm also going to be a artist working on issue 6 of King Cryptid.
Oh,
that's cool.
That's
so
awesome.
you guys know about King Cryptid?
Yeah. We know
awesome.
Peter. He's a good guy.
Awesome.
We have like several issues of King Cryptid. Yeah.
Already. Oh, you do? All right,
yeah.
awesome. So I'm going to be doing. I did the cover for issue 6, and then I'm also going to be doing interior artwork. So
great.
I don't know what the universe is doing. I don't know if it's a weird, strange joke, but it's like KC. Isn't it weird?
KAIJUS and Cowboys.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Isn't it weird?
Oh yeah, I never even realized that.
Don't call it Kentucky Fried Chicken. I know, it's just weird. It's just a weird kind of coincidence.
Yeah.
But I mean, it must mean I'm doing things right, you know.
Right.
So I'm going cryptids and kaijus.
Right. Yeah. You start mixing them up, and
yeah, most definitely.
King Cowboy, and I don't know. It's just all the amalgamations. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Peter Samedi, he's a great guy. From Alterna Comics, and
I've known Pete for years and stuff, and I'm truly honored that he would give me the opportunity to be able to work in his universe. And so, the pressure's on. Like, I want to try to make sure that I bring that same kind of, which I know I am. I'm going to bring that same kind of energy that I bring to KAIJUS and Cowboys over to King Cryptid. So,
right, and Pete's really passionate about King Cryptid too. Like you said, like, this is the comic I'm going to be writing for the rest of my life. Well, so he's really excited.
That's what you want to have. You want to have people that are passionate about what they're doing. We're passionate about KAIJUS and Cowboys, so definitely he needs. He's bringing on that passion. He's showing you that this is his thing. That he's like, I'm committed to this, and I think that that's something that's been missing from a lot of comic books, is that sense of, I call it that sense of loyalty to the fandom.
Right.
Whereas a team or one person is working on something for an extended amount of time. For us, it's like, when I spoke to Matthew about KAIJUS and Cowboys, it was like, Matt said he could do 12 issues. And I said, you can do 12 issues? He said, yeah, I can do 12 issues. So we said, okay, we'll do that 12 issues. You tell that story in 12 issues. And then we're already, between us, behind the scenes, we're already talking about what's the next step, like what's the next thing, and it's looking like we're going to be working on Team KS1.
Okay, that's awesome.
So that'd be like our prequel stuff.
Okay, awesome.
And then so we're literally, like I said, we're following the George Lucas route.
Then you'll go in and do the sequel.
Yeah, so you go to the middle thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're gonna take them back, and now then we'll start doing the future stuff.
All right,
and see where that leads us.
So, what's the creative process like between you and the writer Matthew Blair? Do you do full script or more Marvel method?
I feel like it's a little bit of that. I joke that when me and Matt first started out, I said that we were Kirby and Stan. That kind of synergy, because what happened is Matt will write a script. He'll do a script, and he doesn't get really detailed. He does actually not that much, unless it's really specific. He doesn't really get detailed in how things look. He's more like, well, Frank, this is such and such, whatever. And then what I do is I thumbnail. I'll do thumbnails. I'll thumbnail. Now I'll go through the script, thumbnail them. Now he will go, well, he'll say something like 5 panels. I might see 7, and I'll just do the 7 panels. I'll just draw it out, and then what happened is once the thumbnails are done, I'll scan them in, and I'll write down. I tend to write out a massive list of what I did and explain why I did it, and then I'll send the thumbnails and that written note off to him, and then he can read it. So there's no surprise. Like, there's no sense of like, okay, well, I saw you wrote this, but I'm gonna go this way and stuff, and then not explain why I went that way. It's like, and then he'll look at it, and sometimes, he'll be like, well, that's cool and whatever, but maybe we don't need that or whatever. That's the kind of synergy that we have, and it works. So
it's very like back and forth kind.
Very organic.
Yeah.
The kind of artist that I am, I'm in that kind of side of comic book making where it's like the rebel, where I don't think sometimes clearly it's a business. There's a business aspect of it. So distribution, your production time, material, that kind of stuff. That's not the business. But if I'm gonna go on the artsy side of it, where I'm just total artist, there's a rebel side to art that has always fascinated me. You know, when I used to go to cons earlier on, and I would walk down Artist Alley, and I would see these zines, you know, and I would see these people who would do their artwork, and it wasn't pretty, you know. And when I say pretty, I'm not saying it in a derogatory kind of way. I'm saying it in a way where it just wasn't like what the kind of finished look that Marvel and DC was doing. They just was keeping it real. They were like, this is my character. They would hand write it. There would be mess ups here and there, and I love that because I felt that it was raw. I felt that it was the artist, and if it was just the artist, or if it was the artist and writer, they were just staying true to what their concept was, and they just was putting it out there. And that's something that I want to see more creators, you know, hopefully come out and do, because I think it's an important part of this whole experience. This is about being true. It's not about trying to say, well, can I emulate what's come before, like overly emulate what's come before. Like you see something like Evangelion, like, oh my God, I saw Evangelion. Okay, I got a great idea. I'm gonna do these giant creatures that are like bodies, and then I'm gonna fuse it with Attack on Titan. It's like, yeah, but maybe if you really dug a little deeper, you might be able to create something that can be maybe a homage to that, but then you make it wholly your own.
Okay.
That's the fine line where it becomes your thing, where it's not like a rip. You don't want it to be where the characters look like that character. Yeah. Like someone looking and be like, that's Evangelion. Or like the story
plagiarism versus inspiration.
Exactly. Because I think that it's gone loose kind of with plagiarism for a couple of years, where the lines have been kind of, you know, people have stretched over that line, you know, sometimes to their own detriment.
Right.
And I think that the thing about it is that you can pay homage to things, but also you have to find your own voice. You know, have your own voice. You know, we definitely are paying homage to a lot of the old tropes that I've grown up with and Matthew has grown up with. But I'm not trying to do, you know, I don't even know if I would ever do like would I want to do the cover of Shogun Warriors?
Right.
No, I don't think I don't think I would want to do that.
It's kind of like a lot like, you know, you mentioned George Lucas and Star Wars earlier. It's kind of like, so he was influenced by, you know, the old westerns, and then like
samurai movies,
films,
and
then like those, and then Flash Gordon and all that type of stuff, and then like he sort of combined all that with sort of like his own desires to like get out of his own town and become a movie director or whatever.
Exactly.
And it's his own thing. It's just Star Wars now. It's not like you know. So that's a lot like what you and Matthew are doing with KAIJUS and Cowboys.
That's what we're trying.
We love it. It's great.
Yeah,
we're trying.
And you got the Kickstarter for issue 3 up now.
Yes.
Yeah, so do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, what's going on now with the Kickstarter is this is technically our 4th Kickstarter. Because originally we had a 0 teaser issue, which is available now digitally on Global Comics. So that's on Global Comics, and we have that, but we did the teaser 0, and we treated it more like you know, a movie trailer kind of teaser, you know, just to whet the appetites of people, just to be like, okay, well this thing is coming and stuff, and then see what happens. Now we did it on Kickstarter, and it was gangbusters. People loved it. People were like, oh my god, it's incredible, whatever. That was good. Then what happened was, and I think that was back in 2022. That was 2021. 2021 we did the 0 issue. I feel. I'm gonna tell you right now, guys. Getting older can be a pain because of the mind. My brain can be like, you know, you don't know how many times I was talking to my wife and just be like, Artie Jack. Going back over your name, because I was like, I'm not gonna say their names wrong. Artie Jack. Just because and she just laughed. She just looked at me. She said, Frank, yes, that's their name. Stop saying it. but anyway. So I'm gonna say like 2021 was the 0 issue, but then last year we decided to do a different thing. We decided to try Zoop, which is a newer kind of platform that came out, and we tried it. And the Zoop wasn't bad, but it was a learning lesson for us.
What is it?
Zoop is actually a similar kind of crowdfunding platform.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But it doesn't have the brand recognition like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, and they're just new. And the thing about it is that for them, their major thing about them is that they end up doing the fulfillment. You can sign up and have them do the fulfillment. So that's like their big selling point right there. Excuse me. So we decided to try that just to see, how the waters would be. Now, we were successful on it, but it was hard. It was a very tough kind of thing because you literally, it's like we're coming from Kickstarter where a lot of people, we're building up this kind of thing where people can say, okay, we feel comfortable. They'll come to this place, Kickstarter. We trust the brand and stuff like that. So we hope to see you there. And then all of a sudden you do this crazy thing and go, okay, we're not on there this time. We're going to go on this place. And we did it. We tried it with issue 1. And it was a struggle, but we made it over the finish line, and we're very happy for that. But then we knew after that no matter what, we were going to stay on. The next campaign was which was going to be this year, 2023 in April. We were going to stay on Kickstarter, and so with that one, that was for issue 2, with the chance of getting issue 1. And so the April campaign happened. It was very successful. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is that we try to make sure that our fulfillment is done in a reasonable time, because we know that that's a big thing that's bothering a lot of people out there that are backing these campaigns, because they're just getting stuff really late. And so we were able to get a big chunk of our fulfillments done in 3 months.
Okay.
And then leading into this campaign, which is the 4th campaign. And so which is issue 3. So now you get issue 3. You can also get issue 1 and 2, and then you also can get. This is the new thing right here. This is the thing that is somewhat terrifying a little bit, just because it's so new.
Okay.
This thing kind of happened where it was like after we had wrapped up the campaign in April. Over the years, I've built up a lot of relationships with various people across the board in the art industry, and a lot of those people have been keeping tabs with me, and they've been watching what I've been doing, and they're excited as well. So one of my buddies from the past, who's a tremendous artist, digital artist. I mean, he does mostly monsters, like the giant creatures and stuff like that. He does a lot of work. He's done film stuff. And he just was like, "Hey Frank, I saw what you're doing.
Okay, cool.
How can I be a part of this?" And so we started talking. His name is Dope Pope, and Dope Pope is phenomenal. And he just said, "Hey Frank, I want to try to do a figure of Bwin." So I drew him out. I drew out the images and stuff. But then I contacted him and I said, "Hey man," I said Dope Pope, I technically don't want you to just do a copy of what I've drawn. I want you to do your take on Bwin. And that's what he did with this figure. So
okay, yeah. So you sort of let him do the talking a little bit.
Well, yeah, I want his creativity to shine. The character. Okay. We own the IP for this character. So people know it's our character. But it's when somebody's able to take. It's like the George Lucas thing. George Lucas stepped back, and now other people are telling stories in the Star Wars universe. Mm-hmm. So, and it's kind of fun. Yeah, it's kind of fun to see how somebody else takes a different take to it. That to me is the art flow, because you're seeing something going through transitions through other artists, through the eyes of other artists.
That's cool too, because like a 3D figure is a much different medium than a 2D comic book.
It really is, and I mean, again, it's a very scary thing because it's so new. I don't know a lot about the market. I've done some character title card artwork for toy makers, for custom toy makers.
That's cool.
And it's fun. I mean, it's really fun because it's still in my wheelhouse. I'm still drawing. I'm drawing these scenes for these characters that are going to be figures like this. But the machination of it is I'm still learning. And so and ideally, I'm still just we're comic book guys, and the main focus is the comic book. But when someone offers to try to work with you to do something like this, it's one of those things where it's just like when you're skateboarding, you gotta either hop on or just don't do it. So I'm one of those people where I have skateboarded, so I just was like, I'm gonna try for it. I'm really hoping that we at least get some people that will go for this, just to have, because it is a really neat figure. With its base, it has a base. Let me put this down. I don't know why I'm holding that, but it does have a base that goes with it.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So is it 3D printed?
It's 3D printed. It's made of a high fidelity, high fidelity resin, and pretty much, if people get it, I mean, it's something that you can paint. One of the things we're hoping is that it can be very interactive, whereas people can get it, and then they can paint it, and then and post the image.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We're literally crawling with this, because the thing about it is that hopefully if people get more excited, then that tells us that maybe we can one day dream of seeing articulation.
Okay, yeah.
See what I mean? It's like, again,
Right.
It's like here's another example. Now these aren't going up for any auctions or anything, but I had somebody do some custom Legos.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And
Wow.
again, it was one of those things where I just wanted to see it done with the characters. And it was fun. It's like one of those things where, for me as a custom thing, it's fun to see. But also I want to make sure that the main thing is this. This is clearly the main thing. Because without this, then none of that other stuff exists. Because, we're hoping that as more people read the story and they grow with it, then we can do these little projects like this and have this a custom figure, ideally
Maybe have the Legos in a future campaign.
That would be the dream, But again, none of that happens if there's no real, if people aren't, wants it, then you don't you just don't make things that people don't want, because then you'll just be sitting with a warehouse of stuff. And that does and not just stuff, very expensive stuff, because it's not cheap to make something like this.
Yeah.
So again, it's like, I'm really hoping that people get the comics. We are offering this as on 2 tiers, where the first tier will be, you get this figure, you also get the title card art, which I'll put this up for people to see. This is the title card art that I did.
Oh, that's cool.
I know it's kind of shy. Sorry about the glare. There you go. That's much better.
Oh, that's awesome.
But then on the other side,
oh wow.
Okay, that's
Dope
excellent.
Pope. This was sort of like an amalgamation that I did of Dope Pope's design, but then I did an interior of his machine parts.
Awesome.
And then you get that, and then you also get 1, 2, and 3, the issues. So that's just on one of the tiers, and then the next tier, which is a little bit more, you get all that stuff, plus you get a full color sketch card.
Oh, cool.
Full color sketch
nice.
card that I will do.
Okay, excellent.
That I will do, and you have original artwork, and then Matthew will write an original quip or something. So you'll get both of the creators who are going to be contributing original collector stuff to you, because again, no one knows where this kind of stuff goes. I mean, that's the fun part of it. No one knew where the Ninja Turtles would go.
Right.
I remember Kevin Eastman going to a con and actually talking to Kevin Eastman, giving him a picture that I did of Leonardo, because I loved Leonardo at the time, and I sent it to him, and he talked to me, and he shook my hand, and he said, "Don't give up," that kind of thing. And it was very inspiring. And at that point, they weren't doing cartoons, they weren't doing figures, they were just doing their comic book. And I was
so
like,
this was
wow.
like way back in the 80s?
This is way back. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm up in Boston. Those guys were in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the first guest we had on the podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
He's an amazing guy. I didn't get the chance to meet Peter Laird. Yeah.
He's so unbelievably nice.
Yeah.
Like,
very nice.
wow.
Very just down to earth. But I've had the opportunity to meet such people like that, and so they definitely inspired me. But all we do is we got to take our baby steps. So the first thing is, again, I'm very happy that we're getting more issues out. Another plan that we're planning to do after the campaign is over is that we are definitely going to plan on doing print on demand. So people will be able to just order the comic books and stuff like that. And then once we go into 2024, then our campaign will be much more streamlined, where it'll just focus on the say like issue 4.
Awesome.
And then the cool part about the way what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that when you do the campaigns, those comics are going to be much different than what the print on demand comics are going to be. Just subtle differences, but you'll know that when you did the campaign, what you got is a collector's item, and then what's on the print on demand will just be for the full on market.
Excellent. Yeah. yeah, we're really excited to get issue 3. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, fantastic! Yes,
and yeah, you know, we really appreciate, you know, what you guys are doing here. It's a really great, really fresh idea, and something we've always loved about indie comics is, you
yes,
know, you guys are just making this to have fun because you're passionate
yes,
about it, and it's
yes.
always like so refreshing to just get some new cool ideas. Like
It is fun, but also I just want to also impart onto that it is a business.
okay,
So
yeah,
so also remember that too, because I think that there's too many people I see out there who the, and their enthusiasm is amazing, but they're focused only just on the fun side of the concept and come
right,
up with the character. But then once they enter into the realm of doing crowdfunders, where it's actual money being, you know, people are putting actual money on stuff. Now you're entering into business, which is a whole new domain. You're talking taxes, you're talking production time. Like you got to make sure that you get these fulfillments out at a reasonable time, so that people aren't waiting for it for long. So there's all these other different aspects that you just have to be aware of. And I say that since they're part of it, you can make it fun. Promotion, that's another big thing. You know, if people see my posts, I am having a ball. I'm a little bit more biased toward kaijus and things like that, because it's definitely one of those kind of genres that we're just now seeing a lot more of. You know, and I just want to throw a huge shout out to Cloverfield for starting the ball rolling to the point that we're at now. So thank you, Cloverfield, for taking that gamble, rolling the dice and stuff, so that now we're at a point where we're talking about Godzilla and Kong and Gamera and all that fun stuff.
right. Well, there hasn't been Gamera stuff in forever. I don't really know what that's about, you know.
Oh,
but,
the turtle, the giant turtle,
Yeah.
Gamera. Oh, he is. If people ask me what's my favorite one, he is my favorite.
Really? That's cool.
Because the thing about Gamera is that he Godzilla to me was always this force of nature. He could either go either way. He was just almost a representation of just nature, this
Right.
thing, this being, whatever. Gamera to me was always represented the warrior.
Okay.
This warrior,
Or
the Ronin, you know,
more
this
self-aware.
more self-aware. He's out there fighting this unending battle against the evil forces. His stories have always been more like, in a sense, a more linear kind of thing, where he was just like, he had a job to do, he does a job. We don't know whether or not he hates it or not, you know, but he's definitely conflicted, and you know, because again, humans have attacked Gamera as well. So and then, you know, so technically when Gamera goes out to defend Earth, that's what I've always thought of it, like he's defending Earth. He's not really even defending humanity. It's really just because we exist on Earth, but he's protecting Earth against these forces of evil. So I've always loved that because you're able to lock down that he has this agenda. Godzilla, you really don't know what the agenda. I remember growing up on the Showa era, and even then, Godzilla, they was sort of doing this thing where Godzilla would come and fight against these other colorful characters and stuff like that. So yeah, is he defending? He's defending humanity. But then also, as you get later on, Godzilla's like this enigmatic force that comes on land. You get in its way, stomps right through you, blows up buildings, destroys stuff, and then he happens to get somebody coming on his territory. And then he's fighting this being through his territory. It's still his territory. I've always felt that it was still, the mindset was, this is my territory, you just came in my house, now I gotta handle you, kind of mentality. So, you know, there it is. That's my take on it.
That's cool.
Okay, great. Yeah, that totally lines up. So, I mean, nowadays with art technology being as advanced as it is, you know, and more people doing different parts of the process digitally, how much of your process is digital?
Ooh, well, I would just say right off, I am hardcore traditional. That means that I am pencil to paper, ink to paper, marker to paper. I haven't done watercolor in years, but you know, when the itch comes in, I'll throw down some brushes as well. But do
you color digitally?
Yes, I do. That,
okay.
and that's what I was going to lead into, where I do a lot of stuff by paper, but then I scan the work in, and then I do use Photoshop. Now, the reason why I have, you know, I think that technology is great in the sense of helping to enhance what we're capable of doing. Whereas I draw on paper, I draw the image on paper, but then if I'm working with a client and I know that there possibly could be changes. So if I'm doing a page or something, and then I scan it in, and then I digitally color it. The reason why I digitally color is because it allows for easy re-editing,
Right.
the capability to do that. Now, for the cover that I did for King Cryptid, for instance, issue 6, I did that hand. That's all hand done. That means that if Pete, like when I showed Pete the stages of my work, like from the original rough sketch to my pencil to whatever, and then he gives the okay, I'm locked in. That's it. That's like it's done. You don't want to be trying to do too many edits, like hand edits, like literally putting white out on it and whatever, because then the piece gets destroyed. Now we're talking that, which can turn costly, because now we're talking about, okay, do I have to do a new piece, which is going to cost you more money, or something like that. I mean, you don't want to be at that place. That's why most people who are like painters, who do painted covers, like hand painting, it's costly. And the thing about it is that the person who is commissioning that person to do that painted art, they got to make sure that they are on board. Like once that artist has sent you all the stuff, then you got to be like, thumbs up, roll the dice, it's gonna look good, and that's it. Because you can't really do that. But with digital art, you can make edits.
Right.
You can make. You could be like, oh, I got the line art. You could even do like, in which I've done, where I've done, even though I've drawn the line art, once I've had it in Photoshop, and I have it in a TIFF file or whatever, I can even do quick little edits that in it where it doesn't really affect it too much, and then I can do color on layers. And then they say, well, I think the sky needs to be pink. Okay, that's an easy do. That's something that won't affect too much of the budget, and it can be done really speedy. So yes,
with like two clicks of 2 buttons.
Exactly. It won't be as long as something that's an original, kind of like you doing marker or painting or anything like that.
Yeah, right.
Or even pencil, like if it was just straight on pencil drawing or whatever. That's labor. That's a lot of work going into something. And it gets hard. Well, pencil you can erase, but you don't want to have too much erase and marks and stuff on it. It messes it up. So
So you're doing all the different parts of the comic art process on Kaijus and Cowboys, like penciling, inking, coloring.
I'm not lettering it.
But of all the art, you're pretty much doing everything.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts in this is the sound effects you do. So how'd you get so good at all the cracks, blitz, clunks, and thooms?
Kang. Well, that's that part of like someone who grew up reading stuff like from Jack Kirby and all those famous artists back then.
Right.
If people saw a lot of their original pages, they drew the art. They drew those sound effects with the art. It was part of the artwork, and that's why they worked. I'm not a graphic artist, and so a lot of graphic artists can be, sometimes they get into that realm of being a letterer. A good letterer will be able to put the lettering and the boxes in there where it works with the artwork. Because I've known friends from back in the day who actually did lettering, and they did it the old school way, where they would rule it out, and they would draw the bubbles into the panels, and they would make the panels work with the artwork. So it was almost a beautiful, like a symphony, a fluidity to it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I've seen work where the letter boxes, the lettering is just plopped on. That's what's kind of funny, even about when you think about manga, because manga, I see a lot of that, where it's a lot of just the boxes just put down on it. It's very few times where you see people where they really find a way to incorporate those letter boxes with the actual artwork,
right,
or the sound effects and stuff. For me, I'm just going back to what was done before, where it just seems the sound effects are part of the artwork, and you can do really cool things with it. Like if I wanted to show a character stomping on the ground and really showing that ground crack, I actually do the word crack, but it's part of the rubble.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is just, it's gold, man. I love it.
It's like, and you can even have like booms, like, you can have
pow!
Fists go through
the fist going through the letter O of pow. Oh yeah, that's the kind of stuff. Like if you look back at those old Bronze Age, even before, but even the Bronze Age comics, they would do that. John Byrne,
right?
I mean, I'm looking at right now a lot of John Byrne's, a lot of his old school stuff, and also and Jack Kirby stuff as well, and Herb Trimpe, another one, a person who I call my father. Yeah, Herb Trimpe was somebody who definitely I had a chance to talk to him
Oh,
a couple
cool.
of times. Yes, I did, and I got a chance to tell him how much he inspired me and stuff before he passed away, and so that's one of those powerful things. So yeah, there was a level of fun, there was a level of escapism with the artwork where you look at it and it's not real world. It's like a character's getting hit and the character's body's just folding over,
Right.
and it's like pa swing swoosh, you know.
Yeah.
You can tell they're just like having fun with it too.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of that type
A
stuff.
lot of energy. If you look at that stuff, it's a lot of energy. It doesn't look flat. It doesn't look like it's just
Right.
stiff.
Yeah,
know?
something really cool about the Spider-Verse movies is how they incorporate the sound effects, like the written.
Ooh, I can't wait. I can't wait to see the
animation.
second one. I'm waiting to see the second one.
Oh, okay.
It's really
Ooh, I got the first one. I finally. Well, it's funny, and I'll admit to you guys, I'm one of those people where sometimes I have to like the first time something I see, it may not hit me. So then what I do is I give it a little while, maybe be a year or so or 2 years, and then I'll go back and I'll go, let me just watch it again, and it hits me. That was the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Just like Shin Godzilla. Like when Shin Godzilla first came out, I watched it and I was like, ugh. I was like, oh man. I said, oh, he's got beams coming out of his back. It didn't work. And then I watched it this year with my wife, with Jess, and I fell in love with it. I got it. I was like, I get this. The music was classic music from Akira, and I was like, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. And the same thing like the Spider-Verse. I sat there. Now she's still not on board with the animation with the Spider-Verse, but that's fine. That's just how it is. Sometimes, everyone's got their own taste. But I sat there and watched Spider-Verse, and I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
I was like, I had that moment. Like it hit me and I said, I gotta own this. That's how I know when something really when I want to get the Blu-ray. I was like, I'm getting the Blu-ray. So now I'm waiting right now I'm gonna sit down and set up a day where I gotta watch it. My birthday's next week. Next week. So that may be the day where I may treat myself.
I think like across the Spider-Verse in terms of like the animation, it might just be like the greatest thing ever made. Because it's like literally every frame is like a work of art. It's like a lot of the scenes are like very expressive and abstractly colored. So it's like it's insane just like how much the animators put into it. And it's 2.5 hours of that too. As
someone that worked in animation, because I when I worked in animation, I was working for Olive Jar Animation. It was a studio located in Brighton, Mass. At the time, they did a lot of stuff. They did a lot of commercial stuff, but they also did some stuff on MTV's Liquid TV back in the day. And so when I came in, they brought me in as storyboard and concept artist. So it was like, all right, cool. I remember one of my first gigs was a fruit by a roll-up commercial. It was a fruit by a roll-up commercial, and they did stop animation. They did stop animation, and they also did 2D animation. That was their big thing. So literally, when you went in the studio, there would be an area where they had armatures. I would see actual armatures being built. They had the set where they would do some of their stop motion. But then they also had the area for the animators doing 2D, classic 2D, light tables.
That's cool.
You sit there, you do the what you call it? You draw the initial drawing. The animators do the initial drawings, and then they send it off to the in-betweeners. So I was exposed to a lot of that stuff. Even some of my ex-roommates were worked in the same place. At the time, I lived with a bunch of roommates. Andy Ristano, who is known from Adventure Time.
Okay, cool.
He's one of my ex-roommates.
That's so cool.
And some of the other guys worked on Family Guy.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was in the presence. I worked with
crazy.
a lot of was working with a lot of these individuals, and so I was exposed to some of this amazing stuff. Where first off the styles, because during that time I was really trying to still going through my own self-discovery of what my style was going to be. One of the things about me, I've always been somewhat eclectic in how I view things. Where I was like, I want a portfolio. I don't want one note. That was a big thing for me. I was like, I don't want it when someone looks at my portfolio work. I want to be like they feel that multiple people worked on it. Like they can't believe that one person generated all this stuff from, you can still see a sort of linear thread through my artwork where you go, that's a Frankie B piece. But I've worked on so many different things. Like I've done super detailed ink images when I worked in RPG where you go, whoa, you did that? I mean, super ink. I mean, people were like, I did crazy dragons. I did weaponry.
Oh, wow.
I remember one of my big pieces. It's gone now. It's sold off. It was a skull chieftain that I did, standing
nice.
still. Yeah, he was pretty amazing. I did a wagon. I remember doing a stage wagon that was being operated by horses and stuff, and I had to draw the scene. So I did stuff like that that's out there. I've done cartoony stuff. I've drawn to the level of My Little Pony. So I've gone from range. Yeah. I remember doing a gig that was for a commercial for My Little Pony, and I had to emulate their style. So I've gone to ranges from something that could be not as detailed to something that is the most detailed pen and ink that I could generate. And so I've always wanted to have a portfolio that spoke that, because I wanted people to see that I'm a symphony.
Right. Yeah.
My work's a symphony. I'm not one note. I don't want to be
Right.
put into a category where it's like, oh yeah, this guy just these comic books and that's it. And you know, we understand everything about, because I would hear that. I think that's what, once I got into that kind of world, especially in advertising, I knew that it was very detriment to be one note, because they would look at that and they'd be like, oh, this person does comic books, so we don't want to hire that person. It gets like that.
You like to do a variety of stuff.
And that.
Well, if you want to survive, as a commercial,
then there's more opportunities.
Well, as a commercial illustrator, illustrator is someone who can navigate those waters. I could work in film, I can work in gaming, which I did. I actually was working with somebody who was working on a Voltron game. Oh,
cool.
I have original drawings. I remember I got called in for the meeting. The meeting was in New York. It was at some place. And I got to meet the guy who brought Voltron over here.
Wow.
And some of the top heads of world entertainment. Nice little story. I did the pitch.
Crazy.
I remember standing up, and at the time I did rough drawings. I did them in my notebook of the idea that this video person, the video game guy, was, because he had the rights and he was trying to find a way to. He wanted to do the video game, but then he also wanted to do the animated thing. So, but he wanted me to. He was like, Frank, we need some stuff, some ideas.
That's cool.
And I did, and I came up with some crazy drawings of Voltron that was going to be a Sphinx, and all. Yeah, it was all kind of crazy stuff. Well, unfortunately, it didn't go for it.
Oh, okay.
So that's the sad part of a lot of these stories, is that you get paid for the gigs, and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
And so that's where the sadness comes. Yeah.
But it's still awesome that you get.
Yeah, it is. It's a great story, man, and I learned a lot from that.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're gonna change it up a little bit to end this interview with a lightning round.
Okay, here we go. Uh-oh.
So yeah, do you know how this works? We fire questions at you at rapid speed. Yeah.
Firing at the old man who can't remember anything. I'm like, where am I at? Who am I? I'm just pulling you guys.
Yeah, all right. So just let us know when you're ready, and we'll go ahead.
I'm ready. Go ahead.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Favorite color?
Green.
Okay.
Favorite song?
Ooh. I listen to it all the time. Oh, it's so many. Oh my God. Go 13. Pray for me.
Okay, cool.
Pray for me.
Favorite food?
Oh, hamburgers.
Awesome.
Favorite movie?
Oh, guys. Go 13. Anime.
All right.
The pressure.
Favorite band?
Oh, Queen.
Awesome.
Cool. DC or Marvel?
Oh, boy. I'm going to go for Marvel.
Okay, awesome. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek.
Okay.
Jack Kirby or Steve Ditko?
Jack Kirby.
Coke or Pepsi?
When I was drinking it, I would say Coke.
Okay.
Dogs or cats?
Cats, definitely. We got a black fur baby.
Aw. Avengers or X-Men?
X-Men.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think this one, Godzilla or Kong? Probably Godzilla, right?
Nope. You're going to be
really?
surprised. I like Kong. I like Kong.
Kong's my favorite too.
I think that what Legendary's doing with Kong is much more. There's a lot more story, and there's a lot more feeling for the character. Like I want to see more Kong. Surprisingly, than
and I
Godzilla.
think And I mean, especially considering it's like mocap, it's easier to like sympathize with like a gorilla than it is like a lizard, I think.
Kong's always had a very powerful story.
Right.
And I
you
like
feel bad for him.
And
every
another
time.
part of me is I'm definitely not a big fan of a lot of power. Like I like the fact that Kong doesn't. He has his strength and he has his wits.
Right.
And that's and he's going up, and when he goes up against an enemy, he's relying on that. And
Right.
his will to keep going. So I'm for Kong on this one.
All right. Voltron or Transformers?
Oh man, Voltron.
All right. Nice.
So, this has been an awesome interview, but what's next for Frankie B. Washington, and where can we support you?
Oh boy. Well, the next thing will be we gotta get through this campaign. So we're gonna, once we get through the campaign, I'm gonna be working on issue 7 of KAIJUS and Cowboys, and I will be working on issue 6 of King Cryptid.
Wow, so you're that far along in the story?
Yes, we are.
Wow.
That's what I mean about the pacing of it. So a lot of this stuff is like it's all about pacing, where we wanted to make sure that we're way ahead. And this is what they did back in the day. Just like a film. A film, they don't immediately just, whatever, and then release it. They wait some months to build it up, and then people get it, so that you're able to get it to people in a reasonable time. So yeah, I'm going to be working on issue 7 of KAIJUS and Cowboys. And then also, here's another tidbit. We have signed with Gallant Knight Games, which is an indie RPG game company.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
and
cool.
there will be a KAIJUS and Cowboys RPG game
Oh my god.
planned for 2024.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to be working on some drawings for that, and a lot of the characters will be new characters only for the game.
Wow.
Excellent. So we'll have to have you back on. When that
Most
comes
definitely.
out
Most definitely.
support it.
Are you gonna have like is it gonna be like miniatures or cards?
Ooh, no, well, I like the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
This is right now the person that's running it. We got to get the book. Again, it's just I don't know, but it's something to think about, and I think that's one of the things about it, because we love this kind of enthusiasm, because this gets us more excited, because it would be nice to have miniatures and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
Like
So we just got to see where this rolls.
It would really work as like a Warhammer type thing, I think. For
We'll
sure.
see.
And,
We'll see.
and
That enthusiasm.
especially if people like that figure you put out, I think then there's like an
Yeah,
audience.
paintable
for it.
miniatures.
We think that combining the comic book with RPG and stuff, because now you have a story. Now you're reading this comic book, and then you have a story to sort of go along. So then as you're playing the RPG, it's a overall experience. And then if you have like say the figure, then that's it's bringing it all home. So we're hoping.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is that we can't do anything without our writers. That's what we call the people. You're not readers for us. You're writers. You're riding along on this journey with me and Matthew, and it's a long journey, and it depends on how long you guys are going to keep riding with us. It's perilous. It's a perilous journey. There's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be weird caverns. We may be riding through a lot of different things and stuff to get to where we need to get to. But we know we can get there. But we definitely need our riders. We need you. We need you out there to ride alongside us.
Awesome.
Excellent. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a fantastic interview.
Thank you.
It's just the best of luck with KAIJUS and Cowboys.
Thank you so much. You guys are the future. You make me so happy, because at your age, me and my buddies could only dream of what you're doing right now. So
thanks.
A clap, a round of applause to you, what you're doing.
Thank you.
Because this is the future. Yes, please, for yourself. Because I dreamt of this. Me and my buddies would always talk about all kind of crazy stuff, but the technology didn't exist.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a lot of it. I mean, like this technology, it can be annoying. Like we've had difficulties with this, and it'll cut out and stuff. But then like it'll help. It'll help you distribute your comic out to the world, and it'll help us like record this podcast stuff. So
and show to other young folks like yourself who are sitting there wondering, why can't I?
Right.
And then I'll say, do it.
There's no reason that I don't think I think anyone can do this. Really,
anyone can. You just got to be passionate enough.
You just got to do it.
Passionate. Be passionate enough. Let that passion, that fire inside of you, guide you, and then you learn. You learn on the way. You have bumps. There's gonna be bumps. Just like what happened, we had the little technical difficulties. You guys handled it so well, and you're moving through it and stuff like that. That's the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. This was definitely a blast, definitely a total party. It was great talking to you. And just thank you so much for being so enthusiastic.
I'm looking to come back. I'm looking to come back.
All right, for sure.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Take care.
You haven't seen the last of Frankie B. Washington.
No. Take care now.
All right.
Bye
You too.
bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
So that was our awesome interview with Frankie B. Washington.
Yeah, Frankie is just such an awesome, super nice guy, and it was just great to have him on the podcast to talk about, these great kaijus and cowboys issues that he's got out, and just really all the amazing things he's done throughout his career.
Yeah, for sure. Frankie's just such a nice, such a charismatic, such a creative and talented person. So definitely be sure to support his Kickstarter campaign for sure, and you'll thank us for making this video because you'll be extremely over the top excited after you read the newest issue of Kaijus and Cowboys.
Yeah, sure. And if you're in the New England area and you see Frankie B. Washington is going to be at a convention that you're going to, definitely stop by his table, say hi, and you can get the first 2 issues of Kaijus and Cowboys.
Yeah, for sure.
They're definitely worth it.
Yeah, so, huge thanks to Frankie B. Washington for coming onto the show, and huge thanks to you guys for watching.
Yeah, so if you're new to the channel, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on the Geek Gossip YouTube channel. We would love all the support we can get.
And leave a comment in the sections down below if you got something you want to say. We'll be sure to like and reply to it, for sure.
Uh-huh. And also, you can follow us on Instagram. Our handle is the Geek Gossip _podcast, as well as Twitter/X at the Geek Gossip P1, and Facebook/Meta at the Geek Gossip Podcast.
Yeah, everything's got 2 names now, except for Instagram. Oh, well, I guess there's Threads, but anyway, you can also go to our website, thegeekgossip.com, send us an email, vote in the battle poll, buy our merch. Sky's the limit.
Yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back soon.
Till next time, remember that the Force will be with you always.